Hi, everybody. Thank you so very much for joining us for this session today. My name is Sarah Pilato. I am the program coordinator at the National Ataxia Foundation. Super excited to be here at AAC 2022. And today I'm going to be talking with you a little bit about ataxia support groups. I'm going to go into how you can get involved with them, what the benefits are of doing so, and at the end I'll also show you a little bit more of different ways that you can get involved with NAF outside of support groups as well. So I just have a couple of our standard disclaimers here. If you have already been in any other sessions, you've definitely seen these. So I don't need to go ahead and bore you too much with all of the details, but there they are. I would rather just jump right into our topic, and I'm starting with this beautiful map, which you can find on the NAF website. If you go along the top of the website to the support groups tab, you'll see support group map, and this is what you would be looking at. So what we're seeing here is all of these states that are shaded in with blue are places where you will be able to find at least one support group. Many states have more than one, especially those states that tend to be bigger or just more populous in general, will often have more than one group kind of spread out throughout different geographic locations in the state. And while unfortunately this picture on my slide is not interactive, the map that is on the website itself is very interactive. So it's a very great way to find groups that are local to you. What you'll be able to do is use your mouse to hover around the map. You can click on any of the states that are highlighted blue to show you more information about the groups that are available there. So for example, I live in Minnesota. If I wanted to find something that was close to my area, I could click on the Minnesota and a little box would open up next to the map that tells me the groups that exist in the state. It'll also have the contact information, name, email address, and sometimes a phone number for the group leaders of those groups. And that is an excellent way to find out more information about the group. Just reach out to those group leaders. That information is there for a reason. We would not have listed their email address and phone number if they were not comfortable with being contacted. So there is never a reason not to use that. And as I said, this is a great way if you're looking for a group, and it's important to you that your group is local. You know, you want to and connect with people that are close to you in your community, and this will help you to do that. I think it is important to note that some groups have definitely been more or less active than others, especially during the pandemic time. So if you're ever curious about, you know, how often, how frequently, or what days, what times is a certain group meeting, definitely contacting the group leaders is the best way to find that information. You can also always contact NAF if you're not sure or have trouble getting in touch with anybody. So please know that that information is all available. Let's see. Another great tool that we have available on our website is this events calendar. I know that the picture here is kind of small. It's really hard to read the writing, but it's more or less just a visual to show you what this calendar looks like. It is in the same space that you would find the map. So if you go to the support groups tab along the very top of the website, you would see in the drop-down menu an option that says events calendar. So this is where we would list all of the support group meetings, anything else that might be happening, like if an event, some groups are still doing some in-person things like luncheons every once in a while. Some groups are doing hybrid meetings, so they might be meeting at a physical location, but also have a virtual component. And there's fundraisers that happen, webinars that happen. All of those things will end up getting listed on this calendar. And this is an excellent tool for trying to find a group that maybe fits your schedule rather than something that necessarily fits your location. Because that can be difficult if you're in a location where that group close to you happens to meet, you know, Wednesdays at 3 every month, and that's a time that you're not available. So that can make it difficult if a local group only meets at a time that's not convenient. I think one of the great benefits of everything being on Zoom these days, and a lot of our groups still existing mostly, if not completely virtually, because we got to find the silver lining somewhere, right? Is that you do not have to be locally close to a group in order to join in. So if I'm here living in Minnesota, but the time of the group meetings is not convenient for my schedule, I could very easily just check the calendar for groups that meet on days and times that do work for me. I could join a group in Florida, a group in Connecticut, doesn't matter where. So this is an excellent tool to use if you're wanting to prioritize your schedule rather than necessarily being super local. Sometimes they both work out, and that's excellent. So, and for anybody that is, if you're worried about like, oh, what if I pick a group and they are meeting in person, or I don't know where they're meeting, or I don't know how to get to them. So every one of these, it still might be hard to see because I know it's very little. The format of how that group is meeting will always be listed first. So example, it would say virtual Minnesota Ataxia Support Group meeting or in-person support group meeting. So keep an eye open for those words virtual, also hybrid. Some groups are meeting in a hybrid way, meaning that they'll have a physical location that some people are meeting at, but they'll still have a Zoom hookup capability for anyone that wants to tune in that way. So as long as the group is meeting in some virtual capacity, you can join them from absolutely anywhere. And I think that's such a cool benefit of having this Zoom as an option. So it'll always say that on the in the title of the meeting. And similarly to the map, this calendar is also interactive in a way that if you use your mouse to sort of hover over the different meeting titles, it'll open up a bigger description box. So you'll find the same information that you would on the calendar, which is the name and contact information of whoever that group leader is. So you can still reach out to them and ask questions if you need to. And a lot of the meetings will also have a description of what's going to be happening. You know, if there's maybe a special guest speaker coming, a lot of the group leaders will like to include that in the description. So that way it's a reason to get excited and a special event that's happening at that meeting. So you'll be able to open those up and see a little bit more detail about what's happening at that meeting. And I want to highlight, so these are a couple of other groups that I wanted to highlight as well, because most of these, with the exception of this Ottawa support group, all the rest of these are not really location specific. So you wouldn't find them on the map, but they are listed right below that map. So if you're on the web page with the map and you scroll down just a little bit below, you'll find the descriptions of all these groups as well. So these are more, we have our international groups, so Ottawa and Canada, and then there's also the global Ataxia support group that is open to quite literally anyone and everyone that wants to join. Whether you, there could very well be a grouping closer to your state, but if you want to join the global one, anyone is welcome to do so. This is an excellent choice for anybody outside of the United States. So if you're joining us today from any other country outside of the US, but you're still looking to connect with people in a support group format, definitely the global Ataxia group is a great option. And they meet very regularly as well, and are, I believe they meet several times a week, or there's a couple of different options. So it makes it really easy to work around schedules for the most part as well. And we've got a couple of different affiliation groups as well. Again, not location specific, but these are groups for, we have our under 30 with ataxia, spouses and partners of loved ones, parents of kids, African Americans, and You Matter, which is military members and veterans. So these are all, again, excellent groups to join if you are looking to connect not just with people, other people who have ataxia, but who connect with you on another level as well. Or maybe you are not a person with ataxia, but you are a loved one of somebody who is, and you want to be a part of this community and get the same level of support that somebody else going to a support group would. All very amazing options. So yeah, again, those are found underneath the map. So the group leaders and their contact information is still all listed there. if you have questions for them and need to reach out about when they're meeting, what their groups are like, anything like that. All right, I'm transitioning a little bit now to, we kind of spent some time talking about how you can get involved and how you can find a support group. And I want to take a little bit of time to talk about why people tend to do it, why it can be beneficial, and what are some reasons that you might want to. This is a very cool graphic that actually came from a few months ago. NAF put out a survey to all of our support group members. I'm sure there might even be some people watching this right now that participated in that survey and gave us some feedback. It was just all about support groups and what you enjoy in them. And one of the questions asked people to describe what a support group is for them, or what is important about it to them. And these were some of the most used words. We got hundreds of responses, and this word cloud kind of shows some of the key words that a lot of people seemed to share and have in common. So things like shared experience was said many, many times. Even things like socialization, education, information. These are all reasons why people said, this is why I like my support group, this is what I get out of it, and this is what it does or what it means for me. And in addition to that, we have here a couple of, these were anonymously submitted responses from a couple of members when they were asked what was their favorite part about being involved with their group, or just something that they enjoyed about it. And I feel like these really capture a great snapshot of the importance and the benefits that a lot of people tend to get. So if you've never joined a support group before and you're considering it, or you're on the fence, you're not quite sure if it would be a good fit for you, these are some, I think, some really beautiful testimonials. The first one here is, it feels great to fit in with a group that understands and supports each other in what we are going through. And we also have, I love the opportunity to socialize with those who share my experience, and the chance to learn from guest speakers and experts in the ataxia field. I think a lot of the themes there with the, shared experience and connecting. Someone else also said that it's fun to learn about the new developments in ataxia research and to get tips and tricks for easier living from other ataxians. It's truly a great way to connect with people who know if that they know the experience. They're probably experiencing very similar, if not the same things that others in the group are. And even if they're not, it's a great way to share information, learn about what other people are doing that may or may not be working for them, and ask questions and get some answers and brainstorm solutions. So I think that there are a lot of benefits and there are a lot of reasons to seek out a support group. And these are some things that you can expect to see in a support group meeting. And it's important to note too that all groups are different. There are some groups that might do all of these things. Other groups might only do some of the things, but these are some things that really frequently happen during support groups. Guest speakers discussing a variety of topics. I've gone into different support groups and I've seen guest speakers that were physical therapists talking about exercise routines that can help balance. I've gone to groups that had speech pathologists talking about how to manage things like slurred speech and exercises that you can do with your mouth and your throat, which I didn't even realize were exercises that you can do, which is so cool. So there's a lot of variety there. Again, not all groups will have guest speakers every time or any of the times. It's really group dependent. A lot of sharing and caring time. Many groups just love the socialization, the chance to check in with each other and again, ask some questions. Maybe if you're having trouble with something, you want to get some feedback from other people. Pre and post pandemic, we also saw a lot of social activities. So there are some groups that are getting back to this with things like luncheons, just as a way to meet up and see each other and have some fun. Some are doing in-person or hybrid meetings so that they can get back to seeing each other. These were definitely a bit more popular pre-pandemic, but I'm starting to see a lot of them coming back, which is also exciting. And those would always be listed on the calendar, again, with the description of if it's in person or hybrid or whatever. And then fundraisers is another really exciting one that a lot of groups will participate in at some point during the year. Many of you may have participated in a walk and roll in the past, which are put on by our support groups. I know other support groups that have done things like luncheon fundraisers or silent auction fundraisers. So it's just a really cool way to get creative and help out the community by raising some funds for research or NAF. And it's just it can be a really fun time, pun intended. So for as far as every group being a little different, and if you're looking for something really specific, like maybe if you're very interested in hearing guest speakers and that's something that's really important to you in a support group, but you're not quite sure of the format of any particular group, I think the best ways to find that out are either just to reach out to the group leader that you're thinking about joining, or even just go to a meeting. If it's a virtual meeting and you can join from anywhere and you're interested in just popping by one time to see if you are enjoying that format, or if it's just something that a group that you feel comfortable in and would like to be a part of, just join a meeting. There's never any reason that you can't. Anyone's welcome to join any meeting anytime. So you can also, again, just reach out if you want to find that out ahead of time. Send an email or a phone call to the group leader asking them about the format of their groups and what kind of, the word I'm looking for, agenda or itinerary they tend to follow. So that's why that information is there, to reach out and ask questions. And I guess this is kind of what I was getting at, is how to find a group that works for you. Definitely utilize those tools, right? The support group map is excellent if your intention is to find something that's close to you. And we have groups in most states. There's only a handful where we don't, and we are certainly always open to new groups getting started. I'll talk about that in just a minute. But also utilizing the calendar to find groups that work for your schedule, whether or not that means they also work for your location. And then just remembering that all groups are different. It's okay to try out a few. If you go to one group and you're not really into the format that they follow, or they're just not offering the types of things that you're looking for in a support group, it's okay to try out some others. And it's also totally okay to join multiple groups if you want to connect with more people. I know plenty of people who are part of a local state group, but then they also regularly go to the global group. And there's never anything wrong with joining multiple groups. And this is what I was just saying. So if anybody is interested in starting a new support group, there are some states where we just don't have any at all. There's others where, if there's an area that maybe your state has a support group, but it's really, really far away from wherever you are, that could be a reason to start a second group so that they're more geographically spaced out. There's also plenty of other reasons to start groups. As you saw, we have some of those affiliation groups, but that certainly doesn't cover every possible option. And support groups, they would just truly not exist without really amazingly dedicated members to take on these leadership roles, right? I don't handle all of the details for every single group. That would be impossible. So we have an amazing set of just really dedicated group leaders that will take on that role of scheduling and running the meetings and just creating this community for wherever it is that they are. So there's lots of areas that don't currently have established support groups, but there's also a lot of support groups that may just be in need of additional leadership. And so if there's anybody out there that's been thinking about joining a group, or you're really particularly interested in starting your own group somewhere else, then I would love for you to reach out to me. My contact information is right here on the bottom of the screen, and I'm also happy to share it again any other time. Again, I'm the program coordinator, so I am certainly happy to talk with you about your ideas, find out a little bit more, and figure out what some next steps could be in getting a group started. But yeah, my email and my phone number are both right down there. So they're also on the website, of course, on our NAF website. So you can find them anytime you need to contact me. That is pretty much all of the things that I have to say about specific to support groups, but I did want to take just a few minutes to mention some additional ways that you can get involved with NAF as well, because there are so many ways. We've got NAF memberships is one of the easiest things you can do to be involved and stay up to date, advocacy, webinars, and research opportunities. So with joining NAF membership, free to join. All you got to do is sign up on the website, and then you're getting access to, you'll get invitations and notices about when we're doing live webinars, and you'll get monthly e-newsletters and our Generations newsletter. You'll get in those e-news, you'll learn about different research opportunities that are happening. You may also get specific emails about research opportunities happening in your area. So if you sign up for a membership and tell us what state you're in or what part of the world you're in, and we happen to find out about a research opportunity happening there, we'd be able to contact, send a notice out about that. You'll also get notices about local support groups happening. So when a meeting is scheduled for a support group that's near your area, you would get a notice about it just to remind you and let you know, and any community events. So 10 out of 10, I could not recommend highly enough to join NAF as a member. It's super quick and easy and free to do, and you get so much information and so much access. We also have some really amazing advocacy efforts. I put a couple of fun pictures in here. This one on the right was a screenshot from our most recent Hill Day, where we had some NAF staff and volunteers and members meeting with members of the Senate, and it was so fun and amazing, and sharing stories, and that's a really big event that we do every year. So involvement with our advocacy will give you a chance to share your stories, where we meet with policymakers and agencies and pharmaceutical companies all the time to share stories, and really who better to share the stories than the people who are living them. So the work that we do in advocacy is allowing awareness to grow. We're helping to accelerate drug development, and we're helping to ensure access and care in treatment services. So this is a really fun way to get involved. We also offer a lot of webinars throughout the year. We host webinars on a variety of topics. These are just two of some more recent ones that we've done. And we had Living Well with Ataxia, a palliative care approach that was not maybe super recent, but and just a nice overview of some of the different topics that you might see. One of our absolute most popular ones anymore has been chair yoga. So it's so fun. If you haven't been to a chair yoga yet, we do them regularly, and it's a very relaxing, very fun time. And Natalie, who is the yoga instructor that comes to all of those, is amazing. But we do a lot of these, lots of different topics, and some of them are going to be more information and education oriented. Some of them are like the chair yoga, I feel like is a very fun, relaxing, almost more of a social kind of a webinar, but it's a lot of fun to join in on those. You can come to them live. They also always get recorded and put on our website, so they can be watched at any time. And of course, as an NAF member, you would get updates and notices and invitations to all of these things before they happen, and you'll get reminders. So that's just another great reason. And finally, research opportunities as well. These are a couple of things that you could get involved with, and that we can always provide more information on. There's the CORDS Ataxia Patient Registry, clinical trials and research studies. We're always doing our best to keep those as updated as possible, and sharing that information through notices, but also through support groups, right? A lot of times when these trials and studies are happening, our support group leaders will share that information during their group meetings, or guest speakers will come and talk about those particular opportunities. So that's another great reason to, if getting involved with research is something you're excited about or thinking about, joining a support group and being able to get the information that way is a really great way of doing it. Other things, we've got the natural history study and the brain tissue donation program. There is information about all of these up on the NAF website. And I've also personally talked about many of them during support group meetings. So it's really a great way to learn the information, just learn a little bit more in-depth details about each of these different opportunities if you're interested at all, and seeing if they're a good fit for you. So I think that is really the end of what I had to talk about. I want to thank everybody again so very much for attending this session and learning about ataxia support groups. I am really looking forward to answering some questions during the Q&A. So thank you for being here.
Hi, everyone, to the live Q&A portion of the Ataxia Support Group session. Thank you all for being here. Thanks, Sarah, so much. That was great information you shared.
Absolutely, and thank you to everybody that's here right now.
And it's great to see so many of our support group leaders here.
Yes, I love seeing all of the groups being shared in the chat. That's awesome. So thank you to everybody who has put some group information in there to share with others.
Absolutely, I agree. And thank you to our support group leaders for their dedicated service and volunteer hours and everything that they do to run all of the support groups. Let's see what we have for questions. Let's start it off with, so Sarah, when are support groups going to start holding in-person meetings and events again? Any sense on that?
Yeah, great question. So the unfortunate answer that I have to give you is that it's going to depend a little bit. So every group is run separately, like they don't all necessarily follow the same schedule and the same rules and guidelines. And so there are some groups right now that are already transitioning back to having in-person meetings and events. There are some that are going to still remain virtual for now. And even if they're local, there are also groups that are kind of fully virtual no matter what, just because they're not necessarily geography based. For example, the groups like the parents group and the under 30 group, those groups bring people from all over the country and the world. So they have to exist fully virtually. And yeah, the unfortunate answer is I wish I could give you a little bit more, but it does depend. So some groups are choosing to already go back to in-person, whether that's completely doing in-person events and meetings, or kind of a hybrid option where there's both an in-person meeting spot, but then also the ability to join virtually. And if you're curious what a particular group is doing, that information will always be listed on the events calendar. So anytime you look for a group meeting, you'll notice that the first word of that event on the calendar is either virtual, in-person, or hybrid. And so that'll tell you which way they're meeting. So if you're looking for in-person events, that can be a little bit of a struggle if they don't just happen to be going on in person in your location. But that's a great way to tell. And I think as the year continues to move forward, of course, I don't want to make any promises, but I've been speaking with a lot of support group leaders that are slowly making that transition to go back in person.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see some groups get back into person meetings and events as well, especially as the weather starts getting nicer. It will be great to see some of those group barbecues and picnics and other summer fun activities on our calendar, hopefully, pending the status of the pandemic, if it's safe to do so, certainly.
And I'm particularly excited myself for that because, you know, assuming everything gets to continue moving in that direction, I would love to be able to attend some of these meetings and events and just get out there and meet some of our members and our support group leaders in person that I've spent a lot of time talking to virtually and via email, but have not yet gotten the pleasure to meet face to face.
Absolutely. All right. So another question, are the support groups open to all types of ataxia?
Yes, absolutely. So right now, there are no NAF support groups that are split up based on ataxia type. So we don't really have any groups that are, this group is specifically for those with SCA3 or anything like that. So all of our groups are open to anybody with any type of ataxia. There are, of course, some groups that are for specific affiliated groups, things like the parents group and the under 30 group, the military and veterans group, things like that. So if you also fit into that demographic of people, then that would be a great group to join. But as far as every other group and all of the regional, state, location specific ones, they're open to anybody at all, your type of ataxia, or even whether you are the person with ataxia in your life, that is not closed off to anybody. Even if you are not a person with ataxia and you happen to have a loved one, a spouse, a child, anyone in your life that's important to you that has ataxia and you want to join in on one of the meetings, you are more than welcome to do so.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for talking about all of those affiliation specific support groups. So we got something for everyone. And if we don't have a group in your area, love to hear from you to start a support group. And we can put Sarah's information in the chat to contact.
I can actually do that right now. So
I know that there was some talk in the chat about interest in a group in Louisiana. It would be great to get a new group in Louisiana. So anybody interested in establishing a new support group in Louisiana, that would be great, or some of the other places that don't have support groups in their area.
Yes, and I would actually love to take this time to just mention that that is kind of one of the big things on our dream to-do list for right now is following the ending of AAC in a couple of days. A big thing that we're hoping to do this spring and summer is really identify some of those places that don't already have a support group near their immediate area, and where we can start to establish some groups that might be really beneficial in areas that don't have anything very close by them just yet. So yes, to anyone that's out there right now in this session, if you are interested in having a group in your area that doesn't exist yet, or you're interested in facilitating that and taking on that leadership role, or somebody else that is interested in taking on a leadership role in that way, please get in touch with us. We would absolutely love to talk to you about it and walk you through that process, and know that Lori and myself and the rest of our NAF staff are there for every step of the way.
Absolutely. Yeah, we look forward to establishing some new groups in the near future. We have some questions from the international community, some interest in how to get patients in Egypt and in France involved. So do you want to talk about our Global Ataxia Support Group with Courtney as our support group leader there?
Absolutely, yes. So we do have one support group. It's on our calendar listed as Global Ataxia Support Group, if you're looking for it there. And that is a group, it is, I guess you would say headquartered, maybe not headquartered, but the group leader of that group is out of Canada, but it is a group that is open to anybody all around the world. And it's a particularly excellent one to join if you're looking for something that fits your schedule, because they hold not one, but 2 meetings every single week, both on Fridays. I guess the time zones are definitely going to be different, but for myself, I'm in the central time zone. So they are I guess on Eastern time zone, it's 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. So might need to do a little converting there to figure out what time zone you're in. But they do meet twice a week every Friday at those 2 different times. And so typically hopefully it's at least a little easy to find one that fits your schedule. And to my understanding, they have members join from many countries around the world every week. And I think That's
very
definitely
good. I know that I've attended that, and every time I've attended, there's like 3 to 8 countries represented in those meetings. So it's really an interesting group to attend to see how the world is going every week. All right, so we have another question about the chat. Can we save or print the full chat? We can see about saving or printing the full chat, but if there's something of interest to you that's happening in the chat, like I would recommend either taking a screenshot or photo of the resource that you're looking for with your phone. So that's an immediate way that you can archive some of the content that's happening in the chat. And you could always email myself or Sarah for any of the resources being talked about in the chat.
And for anybody that might have missed it, I did already put my email address and phone number in the chat. So if that's one of the things that you're hoping to keep note of, yes, definitely take a screenshot or a photo of those. But you can also find my information listed on the NAF website.
Very good. Any other questions from the group? Oh, thanks, Shannon, for your work on moderating in the Global Ataxia Support Group. In addition to the St. Louis group, you're a great group leader out there.
Yes. I guess this would be a great time to point out too, since there were several questions about joining groups if you're in another country or in another area. A lot of our groups do have Facebook pages, which is awesome. And it's a really great way to connect with the people in that group or get updates on meetings and things like that. So if there is a group that you're interested in and you want to keep up to date on that information, check into joining their Facebook page so that you can do that pretty easily and communicate with group leaders and things like that. And remember that, especially in the age of Zoom that we're still in, you are not bound by location always to be excluded from a certain group. You don't have to be, I live in Minnesota, but I can very easily join the Florida group, the Canada group, any of them if I want to, just by going on my computer, which is kind of one of the nice benefits of being in the Zoom age right now.
Absolutely. Any other questions? I don't see any other questions in the chat. Also, in addition to the Global Ataxia Support Group, we do have listed on our website international ataxia organizations that may have support services that they provide. So I'll pop the link to that resource in the chat as well for everyone's reference.
And I did see a note somewhere in the chat from Susan about the Ottawa group, which she said is open to everybody. So yes, that's another one where it is existing virtually right now. So that is another great group to join. Susan's amazing. And if you're in anywhere in Canada or just in the near area of Ottawa and you're looking to connect with people around that area, thank you for pointing that out, that's also a virtual group right now. So that's a great one to join in on.
I don't see any more questions in the chat, Sarah, but we can open it up to questions about other topics. If anybody has any other questions of me and Sarah about anything else going on here at the National Ataxia Foundation, or questions that you might have about the conference, we can take a couple minutes to answer a few more questions.
SAC Utah. I don't know what SAC Utah is, but there is a group in Utah. I'm not quite sure what SAC Utah is, but there is a support group in Utah that you can find listed on the map that I showed at the beginning, towards the beginning of the presentation, which is up on the NAF website. So that is certainly whatever part of Utah you're in, that's at least gonna be probably the closest one to you. Salt Lake City, got it. My bad. I'm not from Utah. I don't know all the cool lingo, I guess.
Salt Lake City is a cool place to fly over. But I just put the contact information for the Utah support group in the chat.
Thank you so much.
For Ed. OT referenced YouTube channel. I think you're referring to Little Steps, Big Gains. I think that's what you would search on YouTube. Little Steps, Big Gains. If you're looking for Elizabeth Foss's YouTube channel.
Lori is a fast typer, that's for sure.
That was some copy and paste action. Thank you. I was gonna see if I could find the Little Steps, Big Gains, because that is, Elizabeth does have some really good videos on her YouTube channel. Oh, here it goes, it popped up.
And another nice thing too is remember that all of these sessions that have happened yesterday, today, and tomorrow, they're all being recorded and will be available pretty soon after the conference is over. So if you heard about a resource that you wanted to look up and just kind of forgot what it was or where to find it, you can definitely always go back into that session's video and watch it in a few days to refresh yourself and find it what it was that you're looking for. Oh, so I see a question. Do support groups have any social opportunities? You mentioned picnics. Yes, a lot of them do. And as I kind of mentioned in the presentation, all support groups, they work a little bit differently because they're all run by different people. And so there are some that do much more frequent social events. I think they're a little bit less common right now than they used to be, just because we're still in that transition period from the pandemic of getting back to doing these in-person things. But I've heard of groups doing things like picnics and barbecues in parks, luncheons, or fundraiser events at different restaurants, which can be really fun. A lot of our groups will do a walk and roll fundraiser during the generally the fall time walk and roll season every year, which is very fun. I know the Minnesota one takes place in just a local park, and it's a really fun way to gather people together and also just share and spread some awareness among the community. So yeah, a lot of different social events. It's kind of up to that particular group what they want to do. And if you're part of a group or you want to join or start a group and doing these in-person social events is something that you're interested in, I think definitely either speak with the leadership of that group and let them know you'd like to plan something, maybe work together on it. You can also anytime come talk to myself or Lori or our staff about how to get something like that started. If you need some support on planning or just knowing how to make something like that happen, we would be more than happy to work with you on it. I think it's a great way to bring people together, and especially in a time when I don't know about you guys, but after 2 years of a pandemic, I am just craving social interaction.
I agree. And several of our groups do some really fun walk events as well. And so like those walk events not only include like the physical exercise of doing a little walk together at some really neat venues outside, but also can have some other really fun elements like silent auctions and raffles and food.
We all love food.
Right?
Oh, Nancy just put a note in the chat with some ideas, which are all really great ideas. Museum tours, planetarium visit, paint and sip, baseball game. Those are amazing. And actually, I do know I spoke to a group over the summer that did a baseball game outing together, which just sounded so much fun.
Absolutely. Those are great ideas. Well, we have reached the top of the hour, so we're all out of time for this session. But Jen Connolly, I will share your note about the closed captioning with our production team here. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you all for being here. And thank you, Sarah, again,
Yes.
for all this information that you provided us. And hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening, and we look forward to seeing you all for day 3 of the conference tomorrow.
Yes, thank you all for coming. I will see you tomorrow.